Heart and machine living as one. Accelerate to the finish line. Rivals in every corner. Passion in every lap. Defy your limits. Listen to your instinct. Race with determination. Glory is at reach. A new dream begins.
And so we come to the end of our F4 Spanish Championship debut weekend rainbow. What a fantastic battle we have had for the first three races of the season. Race 1, a victory for the new boy, Lucas Flusha. Race 2, victory for the other new boy, Thomas Strauven. Could we really get 3 rookie winners in the first 3 races of the season? If you're Mattia Colnaghi, you definitely hope so. From pole position, alongside his KCL MP Motorsport teammate on the grid, here at the Circuito del Madrid Jarama, this is a very tough mission ahead. We're on the circuit where it used to be the venue for Formula One in the 1970s and 1980s, and of course the scene of where Gilles Villeneuve, the Mercurial Ferrari maestro, won his final Formula One Grand Prix in 1981, in one of the most thrilling conclusions to a Grand Prix in that era. Here we are for Spanish F4, though, the first time we've raced here in 4 years since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's great to be back on this tight, twisty, complex and very challenging and dynamic race circuit designed by John Hugenholtz, the man behind the Suzuka circuit layout. So it's definitely a tough one for the drivers to learn. And for many of them, 23 in total are rookies, and for all 35 of them, it will be a challenge like none they have ever faced before. Hello everybody, great to be with you here for the third race of the F4 Spanish Championship season opener 2024 here at Jarama. It has been a very busy weekend so far. We've already had 2 different winners, one from Spain, one from Belgium. Now we are on the cusp of potentially welcoming an Italian to the top step of the podium, provided that Mattia Colnaghi converts his pole position to the race victory in the same way his compatriots Lucas and Thomas have done earlier this week. We're definitely in for an exciting battle. Qualifying 2 was definitely different to what we saw in qualifying 1. A lot of the drivers that we saw at the sharp end of the field are now having to fight their way forward in the third race, as we have a very different challenge ahead. Mattia Colnaghi and Lucas Flusha may be on the front row of the grid, but the second row is filled by the Griffin Core by Campos boys. Ernesto Rivera, fresh off his disappointment in race 2, can certainly battle that back from the run on third position on the grid. Fourth on the grid is Jan Paszkowski, the former European junior karting champion. Could be very interesting to see what the other successful pole in this championship could come up with. Hello everybody, great to be with you. Jake Sanson here once again in the commentary booth here for F4 Spain. Thank you so much indeed for your patronage, your patience and your company. The first 2 races have obviously been very exciting, fast, furious and frenetic, and we can't wait for another thrilling battle out here on the circuit. If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, then don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's 3 easy tasks, and if you do that, you will never miss a moment of this F4 Spanish Championship campaign in 2024. You can also keep it up to date with us by bookmarking the website f4spain.org. And of course, following the F4 Spanish Championship on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and everything else you're subscribed to. It's going to be a great battle ahead of us for 30 minutes plus 1 lap, 5 minutes race distance longer than we saw earlier on in the second race. And it's a very different qualifying order as well, with Colnaghi, Flusha, Rivera and Paszkowski in the top 4 positions of the grid. Andres Cardenas finds himself in P5 on the grid for this one, with race 2 winner Thomas Strauven lining up P6 in front of the talented Hungarian Adam Hideg, who finally got it together in qualifying in the second session this morning, along with Matteo Quintarelli, the Italian who is based in the United Arab Emirates. And then Enzo Tarnvanitschul, the Thai driver, lines up in 9th position on the grid alongside his fellow Red Bull Campos Racing youngster, James Egozzi. As you can see, the pit lane opens and the drivers head out onto the circuit. They will make a couple of goes around the course. Careful, boys. Don't have a collision in the pit lane, for goodness sake. You don't want to get your first major problem. So it is a fabulous battle that the drivers will have once they get out onto the circuit. I made a point in the race build-up about Gilles Villeneuve winning here in 1981, and Wesman, Treble 4, has invoked that memory. Every time he sees this track, he can just hear Murray Walker yelling, Villeneuve in the Ferrari wins from Lafitte, Watson, Reutemann and De Angelis. You and me both, brother. I absolutely recall that. I think I had a VHS where I watched it again and again and again from about 1996 through till about 2024. It's absolutely brilliant. And what a brilliant race circuit this is. It evokes so many great racing memories from a real golden age of Grand Prix racing. It's wonderful to be back here. Although Formula One may have moved on to other climes in the world of Spanish motorsport, this place still provides a real technical challenge, a real difficulty in terms of setup, because the change in the elevation of camber, the dynamicism of these apexes and corners, it really takes a toll on tyres, and that's what's going to be really key coming into this third weekend. They obviously have a set number of tyre sets that they can have over the course of the weekend. We saw a couple of drivers going for a slightly differing strategy going into the second race, some going for old tyres on one side of the car and new tyres on the other side. Anybody that's kept back a fresh full set will absolutely be bolting them to the car now. So expect Lucas Flucher to be on fairly decent tyres all round. In fact, on one side of the car, he'll have a fresh set of tyres, and on the other side, he could well have had tyres that have only had about 400 metres of racing experience in them after his problem at turn 1 in the second race. So it's going to be really interesting to see how everything gets on. I love the fact that the fans watching along are rooting for Peter Griffin starting in P23. They are, of course, referring to Griffin Peebles, the Formula Winter Series champion of 2024. Who's going to have a very tough race, I have to say, from the 12th row of the starting grid. It's not going to be easy maximise his position from P23, but that doesn't mean he won't give it everything he's got. As you can see, the clouds are starting to tuck in now around the circuit here. It's all pretty tricky and treacherous out on this Spanish F4 circuit. Hopefully those clouds are not going to break before the end of the day's action. The last thing we need right now is a pretty tough day at the races with rain. So let's talk about the drivers outside the top 10. I've already talked about the top 10 starters. Nathan Tighe lining up 11th on the grid in his Campos racing machine, just behind his two Red Bull-backed partners. Juan Cota lining up 12th position for the Drivex team. Keep an eye on him. Should be a very interesting race from his perspective. Peter Pusinellos is the second of the Rodin Motorsport drivers. He lines up 13th on the starting grid for this one, alongside Francisco Macedo, the Portuguese driver, hopefully going to get a much better race of it this time. Yavan David has the fans in Dubai and Colombo in Sri Lanka rooting for him all the way. The bat could rise from 15th on the starting grid, but he lines up alongside his fellow Dubai resident, Keanu Alizari, who already has 2 podiums this weekend and would dearly love to make it a third. But to do that, he's going to have to go through this field like scissors through wet newspaper. René Lammers will have to do the same. 17th on the starting grid for him, as he lines up all the way back in the 9th row of the grid after a difficult qualifying session this morning. Preston Lambert, the American, lining up 18th on the grid for Rodin Motorsport. And Maciej Gladish, the man who was the winner of the also rounds, the best of the losers as they call it, second position in a fantastic drive. Could easily have won the race earlier had the race not gone into safety car mode in the closing stages. I think Maciej Gladish could have got the win in race 2. He was pushing hard enough and looking after the tyres well to make it happen. But in this race, the pressure's off a little bit, but it's a tough race battle ahead. He's going to start from 19th on the grid alongside the German talent Lenny Rietz in the Monlab Competition car. Then Daniel Nogales alongside Filippo Fiorentino. Griffin Peebles, Peter Griffin, as some call him, all the way back in 23rd on the grid alongside Gustav Istevsky. Tim Gerhards will be 25th on the grid alongside Christian Cantu. And then Kirill Kutskov, the reigning FIA karting world champion, 27th on the grid alongside Mikkel Pedersen. And then Gabriel Gomez and Matos Reiber, along with Maxi Restrepo, Renat Hakim, Lorenzo Castillo, Due de Decker, and Victor Dobzhansky. So the layout of this circuit hasn't changed much over the years, and it's still very much the same configuration, of course, that Gilles Villeneuve mastered in 1981 for the Spanish Grand Prix. Air temperature 4 degrees higher than it was at the race earlier today, but as you can see, the clouds are coming in, and it could be a very interesting race battle if the winds pick up. This is the kind of circuit that could really pitch a couple of unsuspecting drivers into a spin as well. They've got to keep their wits about them. You'd think that crosswinds are not that big a deal in single-seater racing. They really can be, though. So it's definitely something that drivers have got to be mindful of as they go through. Enzo Oliveira is getting his mileage in on the main straight. Well done, Enzo, getting himself into exactly the right position to grab some drivers down there on the starting grid. Well done, lad. And brilliant stuff. He's going to be worn out by the time we finish this off. He's got a couple of people to speak to, though, on the starting grid. So Enzo Oliveira getting himself into position. We like to we like to pull a fast one on our colleagues. We're a team, and we like to have some fun out there. Obviously, we like to be professional, but we like to have a bit of fun as well. So great to have our camera crew jogging down the straight. And yeah, a fair point from Michael Cook. Yeah, it's not just Enzo Oliveira that's running down the main straight. The cameraman's having a good go at it as well. If they lose about 10 kilos in weight, then they've done a good job.
¿Qué tal? Otra vez, estamos en vivo para la transmisión del F4. Estamos acá, como te gusta a ti, ¿no? Con los pies sobre la cancha.
Eso es.
Sobre la pista, digo.
Sí, la pista. No, muy contento de ver aquí los coches y bueno, a ver si pueden luchar y ganar algunos puestos y por lo menos terminar bien el fin de semana con mucho aprendizaje para el siguiente en Portimao.
¿Hablaste con los pilotos? ¿Qué te dicen? ¿Qué les dices tú? Cuéntame un poco la interna.
No, hablo mucho con ellos en Instagram y eso. Yo creo que al final se trata de eso, que no soy aquí el jefe del equipo y que no me ven nunca o que no pueden hablar conmigo. Yo estoy muy abierto con ellos, si puedo me meto en el simulador con ellos, así que nada.
¿Es el simulador con ellos?
Sí, claro, y la verdad que muy divertido y van bien y obviamente Gabriel, que el viernes estaba 12º, 11º, pues era un poco más peor ahora que está atrás, pero bueno, que sigue luchando, mejorando y para Portimao ojalá más arriba.
Pitazo final, gracias. Ahí estaba la palabra en exclusiva de Thibaut Courtois con nosotros.
Not bad, eh? Thibaut Courtois, the Real Madrid superstar and the former Belgian national goalkeeper. Big name here in Spain. Great to have him on the starting grid, of course. For those who are wondering why Thibaut Courtois is involved in F4 the Spanish Championship this year, well, Christian Cantu and Gabriel Gomez's team, TC Racing, that's what TC stands for, Thibaut Courtois, who has actually founded this team this year in collaboration with the ex-Formula One driver Roberto Mehi. Matej Kolnagi and Lucas Flusher on the front row, from Ernesto Rivera and Jan Petrovski, Andres Cardenas and Race 2 winner Thomas Strauven in the top 6 of the grid for Race 3. Adam Hideg and Matteo Quintarelli on the 4th row from Enzo Tarnvanichkul and James Zagotzi, the 2 Red Bull-coloured cars. Nathan Ty, 11th, Juan Cota in 12th. 13th on the starting grid for Peter Buzinelos, the Australian, for Rodin Motorsport. Francisco Macedo, 14th for DXR by DRIVX. Ivan David, the Sri Lankan, for Santaloc. Keanu Alazari for MP. René Lammers, his teammate, and Preston Lambert for Rodin Motorsport in 18th place. Then Matt Gladish fighting his way forward from 19th on the grid. Lenny Reed will be alongside him on the grid for Monlau. 21st for Daniel Nogales alongside Filippo Fiorentino. And then Griffin Peebles, the Formula Winter Series champion, alongside Gustav Wisniewski, P24. Tim Gerhardt alongside Christian Cantu, the Monlau and TC Racing drivers. Kirill Kutskov beside Miguel Pedersen on the 14th row of the grid. And then Gabriel Gomez running alongside Mattes Reiber. 31st on the grid, well, that is Maxi Restrepo along with Renat Hakim. And then we have Lorenzo Castillo, Douwe de Decker, the Belgian. And finally, Victor Dobzhansky. 35 drivers on the starting grid. My goodness me, it's going to be a fascinating situation for all of the competitors out there. So, from the drivers up at the front end of the field, Kolnagi, Flusha and Rivera, all the way down to the likes of Rehan Hakim, Lorenzo Castillo, Douwe de Decker and Victor Dobzhansky, all of these drivers with a very exciting chance of a good run forward. So we're going to have a really exciting battle out there for all of the contenders. So who is going to get the best start in race 3 of the season, race 3 of the weekend? We've had 2 rookie winners from race 1 and race 2, Lucas Flusha of Spain and Thomas Strauven of Belgium. Who is next Or will we get a double up from Lucas Flusha starting P2 and Thomas Strauven starting P6? If it goes very similar to the way race 1 and race 2 progressed, then the pole sitter could take the victory. And if he does, then we're going to get 3 different winners, as the Italian Matteo Colnaghi is going to be in position. Now, it looks like we've got a car not moving off the starting grid. I wonder if that's Thomas Strauven, because it looked to me like one of the road-ins. So one of the road-ins did not go off on the formation lap. There were yellow flags waving. Is the car still stationary, or have they managed to move off? Now, that's key, because whoever has stalled on the grid, if they are still stationary, then they cannot retake their position. No, everybody's got going, so that is good news. So I think it might have been one of the road-ins, and it's possible that it might even have been Thomas Strauven. But the rule is, if you stall it on the grid and you keep going, you manage to start the car again before the entirety of the field has passed you, then you can retake your position on the original starting grid. So Strauven is okay. He got a bit hesitant to get away. I thought he'd stalled the engine for good, but no, he has been able to get the car moving. And so there he is in P6. He's allowed to take his original starting position. Well, I tell you what, Thomas Strauven fans just skipped a beat or two there. But he's got away with that, and that's perfectly legal. He's allowed to take his position back on the original grid. So this is where tyre wear can be a real premium in racecraft, because it's very easy to lock the brakes at this point on the course. So on the formation lap, the drivers coming round to take up their position on the starting grid. So Diego Bittencourt asks, is this the Madrid F1 track? Technically speaking, it used to be. 1970s and 1980s, this circuit did indeed host Formula One Grand Prix racing. It was also, for nerds, the scene of many of the scenes of the Al Pacino Hollywood movie Bobby Deerfield, which was based around Formula One. And they actually used footage from the Spanish Grand Prix on this very circuit in the 1976 Grand Prix season. There's one for you to dig up on YouTube. Good luck if you can find it. Al Pacino is a Formula One driver. He's definitely going to give Brad Pitt a run for his money in a few months' time. But here come the drivers to the starting grid in F4 Spain. Matteo Colnaghi and Lucas Flusha, the KCL MP teammates on the front row of the grid. Then the Griffin Core trio of Ernesto Rivera, Jan Piotrowski and Andres Cardenas. Then Thomas Strauven, race 2 winner. The battle is ready to wage war. We're under starters' orders in F4 Spain, and it's away. And it's a great start at the front of the field. Lucas Flusha has come forward and got past Ernesto Rivera. Absolutely brilliant run. He's also got ahead. Had the best of starts, so it's perfect for Lucas Flusha as he works his way forward. Excellent getaway from the man in second on the grid. Lucas Flusha has tore his way to the lead of the race. Colnaghi has defended himself valiantly against Rivera and moved himself back into second position once again as the field tightens its way through the hairpin section. So Flusha has got into the lead of the race in fine style. Colnaghi second, then Rivera, Piotrowski, Cardenas, and Enzo Tyranichko. Where did he come from? P6. Terrific start for the Thai superstar as he charges his way forward. So Flusha is back into race winning mode once again. And every time he has gone to this section of the course on the opening lap, he has come through to win. So obviously this is his third race. He didn't get as far as this in race 2, but he's got a chance to make it 2 out of 2. What an absolutely sensational battle we're going to have now. Diving up the inside, that's René Lammers trying his luck on the inside and getting through on Peter Buzanelos. Some good work for a few of the drivers here as they continue to battle on. Up the top of the hill. Everyone just trying to stay out of trouble on this first lap. It's easy to just go for a move or two, but you have to get a car that's going to get you to the finish. So you've got to be careful. There's a damaged front wing there. I couldn't quite make out who that was. I think it's one of the Technicars. That could be Castillo. But down to the first corner, and already pressure coming in on Kolnagi. Big lockup down to the first corner, and it's a damaged front wing for Tarvanichko. Oh, Enzo Tarvanichko was having a brilliant race, had completed well on the first lap, and he's got a broken front wing. So Enzo Tarvanichko is going to be out of this one. Oh, bitter disappointment for the young man from Thailand. And starting on the inside for second place. Big chance from Ernesto Rivera. Well, he gave it the best shot he's got. But I'm afraid it hasn't quite worked out on that occasion. He's managed to get away from that particular problem. So, out of the race then for Enzo Tarvanichko. Surely he's just going to be limping his way back to the pits with a broken car. And there's potentially more damage in the top five. I thought there was a big lock-up there from Rivera. Petrovsky all over the back of him as we watch Thomas Strauven go through in 8th place. Not the best of starts for the race 2 winner. But certainly for Lucas Flusha, he's doing a grand job, continuing his work. Another lock-up into the hairpin down at the foot of the run, and that is Cardenas versus Quintarelli. Then Hideg, Strauven running in 8th, and then Kota, Ty, wheel-to-wheel stuff as Griffin Peebles defends from Mikkel Pedersen. So through comes Flusha, in control from Kolnagi. And then Ernesto Rivera, 2 drivers that could get their first podium finishes of the season, tucking in behind Lucas Flusha. Then Petrovsky, Quintarelli's got ahead of Cardenas now. So it looks like the Santolog is up into P5. Then in 7th it's Hideg, Strauven, Kota, Tai, Igotzi, Yvan, David. P12 already, the bat will rise. Excellent stuff from the Santolog youngster from Colombo. And wheel-to-wheel stuff in the midfield as well. That's Maciej Gladish working his craft with the Cram of Filippo Fiorentino and chasing down Francisco Macedo. No problems at all for Flusha. He runs well. Up in the lead of the race from Kolnagi, Rivera and Petrovsky. Great battles in the midfield. That is Ivan David taking on another battle as he goes wheel-to-wheel with Keanu Alassani and René Lammers. Ueda Decker having to hold station as well. Dueling away with Victor Dobzhansky, but has held on to it for the moment. There is Mattia Kolnagi, hoping to become the 3rd different winner in 3 races, but he's under pressure from Ernesto Rivera, and there is Jan Petrovsky for Griffin Corby Campos, looking very good to try and challenge. So, excellent work so far from these contenders, but it's all now about discipline, it's all about patience. No yellow flags, no safety car periods yet, 5 minutes into the race, and it's a much cleaner start in general. But already we have a retirement, and that is Enzo Tarvanichko. He's pulled off the circuit and is out of the race. Very unfortunate indeed for the youngster. Still under conditions, that's what we want. All the way to the checkered, please. Flusha, Kolnagi, Rivera, Petrovsky, and just hanging in touch with them is Quintarelli, P5. He sets the fastest lap of the race, by the way. So Quintarelli has done a 1:33.318 as he comes through. And that is putting him onto the rear wing of Petrovsky as Hideg and Cardenas are dueling away. And I think that's Adam Hideg, the Cram driver, just about getting the upper hand there. We'll have to see and look back past the top 5. Through they come, but who's in P6? Is it the Cram? It is. Great work from Adam Hideg, the Hungarian. So Hideg has worked his way forward into P6, ahead of Cardenas, Strauven, Kota, Tai, Igotzi, David, Alazzani, Lamas, Busanellos, Macedo and Gladish. Quite a few cars carrying some damage of some sorts. Front wing damage for one of the cars in the field. I'm fairly sure that's the Technicar of Lorenzo Castillo. As Pedersen makes his way past Reiber on that lap as well. There is the gap back to 6th position and Adam Hideg. But now he's dropping this battle. Cardenas is becoming a bit of a cork in the bottle here. Flusha, Kolnagi, Rivera, Petrovsky and Quintarelli, they are long gone. Then Adam Hideg, having worked his way into 6th. And then we've got a massive train of cars. And that is Cardenas, Strauven, Kota, Tai, Igotzi, David, Alazzani, Lamas and Busanellos. Then a little bit of a gap back to Francisco Macedo in 16th. And then we've got Gladish, Fiorentino, Preston Lambert. But rounding up the top 20 is Lenny Reitz. Still the fastest man on track is Matteo Quintarelli. Look how hard they're having to push coming off that turn, and then they drop down the crest. Bit of a roller coaster ride for the drivers, this place. Very similar in sort of camber and elevation to Portimao, although this is old school. Up the inside, bit of a lock up to the inside. Couple of the drivers gunning for a move or two, and that is Gianni Alassari leaving enough space to go wheel to wheel with Van David, but still pushing him hard. In the midfield, things are getting pretty spicy. And off the road. Oh dear, that's Matas Reiber. Matas Reiber goes straight over turn one. Now, if he keeps his foot in, he might not get beached. Unfortunately, though, that's exactly what's happened. And side by side, the two MP teammates. Oh, goodness me, Vinny Lammers and Gianni Alassari not got any benefits of doubt. I think it was Rennie Lammers that had to back out of it. But I'm afraid Matas Reiber has overshot at turn one and gone straight off. Now he's well enough off the line that could be covered by yellow flags. But he is beached at turn one. He's gone a long way in. Oh, it's safety car. They can't take any chances. Fair enough. Fair enough. Safety car is called. Unfortunately, I'm afraid you can't really do any on that. When you've got a car skating off at turn one, they're beached, then safety car is the only option. That's absolutely... Oh, there's another car involved in it. Is that Strut? That's the 22. That's Businellos. So Peter Businellos. Now, that's pretty dramatic because that would have been undersar. Because the safety car was called as the leaders were coming to that point. And so Businellos has been tipped around, or he's spun himself around, one of the two. But that's under safety car conditions. So that's a real disaster for Peter Businellos, not to the back of the field. And that's a rear wing. That's James Agozzi's rear wing. Dear, oh dear, what is happening? So now James Agozzi is going to be touring around without a rear wing. Well, he's managed to make it back to the pits. And well done to that marshal. Great work. If I were you, I'd try and make an argument for putting that on your wall. No, you've just given it to your mate. He's going to put it on his wall now. No, well done to the marshals. We should pay tribute to them. They've worked very hard indeed this weekend. They don't get the credit they deserve. But a massive gracias to all of the marshals and officials around the course. You can't race at all without them. And they've been absolutely amazing. Right, let's have a look at the order as a result of that moment between Agozzi and Businellos, because it has changed the field up quite considerably. Lucas Flusha still leads the way for KCL MP with his teammate Mattia Colnaghi in the box seat for second place. Third place now is Ernesto Rivera for Griffin Core, then Jan Bashrovsky in P4. Matteo Quintarelli's driving beautifully in P5. He's got the Santa lock up there into the top 5 positions, and he still has the fastest lap of the race, I do believe. Sixth position is Adam Hideg for Cram. The Hungarian is driving a superb job at the moment. Seventh place for Andres Cardenas in front of the Campos driver Nathan Tai, formerly of the Sodi Kart factory karting team. Ninth place is Juan Cota for Drivex. 10th position, Thomas Strauven, really struggling in this race in the Rodin. Perhaps he pushed the tyres so hard in his earlier race for the victory that he's got very little left to defend with. 11th position, everybody in Sri Lanka, stop what you're doing. Cancel your plans for the next 25 minutes or so, because your boy is in 11th position. Van David is one place away from the points, having started all the way back in the midfield. So this is a great chance for Van David to score his first points in F4. Never mind in F4 Spain. And into the pits with a heck of a lot of damage. That looks like Mikkel Pedersen is coming in. So Mikkel Pedersen down at about 24th or 25th position. Having to make repairs to what looks like both the front and the rear wing. Now you're probably wondering why a couple of the drivers have stayed out there with broken wings. That caused an issue with downforce. Well, yes and no. Certain problems that you can get away with. Enzo Tarvanichko's got going again, having come into the pits and rejoined. So when I said he was out of the race, I was incorrect. They've repaired Mikkel Pedersen's car, though. And so he is going back out onto the circuit again, albeit at the back of the field. There's quite a few changes of position now. Unfortunately, both of the Red Bull Young Guns are in the top 30. Tarvanichko is in 31st. And James got out of the race with a broken rear wing. So very sad indeed. So who's Arch? Well, obviously it's Ivan David, 11th position for him. Keanu Alazari's made up 4 places. René Lammers and Maciej Gladish job. The two of them have made up decent places as well. 13th and 14th for those two. Griffin Peebles has made solid progress up to 20th position. Trying to see who else is on the march. Douay de Decker is doing a good job making up places in the BWT. Safety car is in this lap. So we get to go racing again with 18 minutes plus all 8 or 9 seconds plus the as well. So it really is time to see Lucas Flusha can do. He's already handled a restart in his first race of the weekend. Can he handle another one? It's deja vu for Lucas Flusha. 24 hours ago, he was in pretty much exactly the same position, battling for his maiden victory. He knows how to do it. He's gone for it. He's dropped the hammer. And out of the final turn, he is in position to charge forward. So let's do it again. For the second time in race 3, it's green, 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 green here at Jarama. And a perfect restart for Lucas Flusha. There could be a challenge to the first corner for Petrovski. Coming on to Ernesto Rivera. He's going to go side by side with him. Can he get third position? Perfectly clean at the moment up the inside. And I think he's had to bail out of it. Oh, and a couple of cars going wide. It's chaos. Off into the first corner, gravel goes Andres Cardenas. Any chances of points are gone. And I'm afraid that car will be beached in the gravel. So we could well get a safety car again. What do we say in motorsports? Safety cars breed safety cars. Up the inside, another challenge as Ivan David goes for Strowman and gets himself into the points. Brilliant work. As Cardenas, Clementino and Lambert have all dropped down out of the positions they were in. So Preston Lambert also involved in all that. Safety car again. So let's have a look at what happened. It's just a case of everybody locking up and going too far deep. Ivan David was very lucky not to get caught up in that, to be fair. But I'm afraid for Andres Cardenas and Filippo Fiorentino, it really is game over. And there is a very bitter and unhappy Peruvian. The wind has been knocked out of his sails there. He looks like a Thunderbird's puppet with the strings cut. Very disappointed Andres Cardenas. Desperately trying to put the steering wheel back in the car. And good for him, because obviously that will make it easier for the marshals to move. Well, there is the Cupra safety car once again. Not for the first time this weekend. And so, back to the front of the field you go. He's getting his mileage in this weekend, isn't he? But hey, these guys are still teenagers. They're still learning. And F4 is always going to be a real challenge for these guys to learn about motor racing the hard way, on the job, under the scrutiny and gaze of the microscope that is motorsport broadcasting. Give these guys a break. They've got to make mistakes, and they've got to do it in front of your very eyes. And of course, once they've moved on from Spanish F4, the next move for them is hopefully going to be Euro Cup 3. And guess what? We're back in action for that next weekend. Going to be very exciting to see how that championship continues. Especially after the news that we had during the week that when we go to Portimao in Portugal, the race that was cancelled on the morning of the Saturday at Spa-Francorchamps, that is going to be rescheduled to be part of the Portimao weekend. So that race weekend will have 3 races rather than 2. So that's going to be exciting. We'll come back to that a little bit further to the time in June. But certainly for the moment, what's the order? Lucas Flusha, Mattia Colnaghi and Ernesto Rivera, still the top 3, still looking good for the podium at the moment. Then Jan Petrovski, Matteo Quintarelli and Adam Hideg. Nathan Tai, P7, then Juan Cota. Ivan David is now up into 9th position. And having got past Thomas Strauben, this is easily the best race in cars of Ivan David's short career. The young man from Colombo in Sri Lanka, the only driver in the country's history ever to place in an FIA podium position in an official motorsport event. He won that honour by coming 2nd in the FIA Motorsport Games OK Senior Final at Paul Ricard in 2022. I was there. A wonderful, wonderful race from him. And of course, from the winner of that event, Elie Goldstein of Belgium. And here are the drivers, currently behind in position. Under safety car. It's going to take a little bit longer to move Matas Reiber's car. Andres Cardenas' car, I should say. So a very tricky situation for the drivers. Right at the back of the field now, that is one of the crams. That is Filippo Fiorentino. So He got caught up in that incident as well and has dropped all the way to the back of the grid. So that puts him down in 31st position. 4 drivers retired from the race then. Andres Cardenas, James Agozzi, Peter Buzanelos, who clearly had damage after his little spin under the safety car, and Matus Reiber, who went off on the first corner on lap number 5, and that was the reason we ended up under the safety car in the first place. So Flusha, Kolnagi, Rivera, Ryszkowski, Quintarelli. That's your top 5. Then we've got Adam Hideg in front of Nathan Tai, Juan Cota, Yvan David and Thomas Strauben. Then 11th place, just away from the points by 1 position, is Keanu Al-Azari. That would be really impressive if Al-Azari can overtake Strauben and get himself into the points. And don't forget, for Al-Azari, that's a potential lead of the championship if he can score points in all 3 races. But then with Lucas Flusha poised to win his 2nd race, and Strauben potentially out of the points if Al-Azari gets ahead, this is going to be a very close title battle heading to the 2nd weekend of the championship. But it certainly looks like this title is going to be a 3-horse race moving forward, doesn't it? Lucas Flusha, Thomas Strauben and Keanu Al-Azari. Safety car in this lap. So now, once again, it's up to Lucas Flusha, and he will have taken a lot of advice from his brother, Lorenzo, who is here this weekend supporting him, himself a European Le Mans Series winner in 2024 for Cool Racing, partnered up as he is alongside the Super Formula and Super GT reigning champion, Ritamo Miyata. Lucas doing exactly what he needs to do, backing up the field nice and early at the top of the hill. So now it's up to him as to when we drop the hammer. Has he already done it? I think he has. Yep, he's dropped the hammer at the perfect point. Kolnagi's got a good restart, but it looks to me as though Ernesto Rivera's got a better restart. And as they come off the turn once again, we go green, 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 green here on Jarama. Lucas Flusha dropping Kolnagi out of the tow, does not want him to pick up any slipstream at all. And here comes Rivera, side by side with Mattia Kolnagi. Around the outside, has he got the grip? No, he does not. Couple of drivers going for it into the first corner. Al-Azari having a real think about Thomas Strauben on the inside, but he has to bail out of the move. And there's more out into the gravel again. 2 cars going off, and this time, one of them is Enzo Tarvanichkel. Now, can they drive out of it? Because if they can't, we're going to have 3 safety cars in succession. And this is a traffic jam in the midfield now. Everybody going for a very tight move. I think Yvan David has got through on Juan Cota. Nathan Tai has got through on Adam Hideg. So that's 2 big moves in the top 10 already. And there's yellow flags at turn 1, but there's certainly no... I spoke too soon. They have just called safety car for the 3rd time. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, again, with the sand trap being so deep, it is inevitable. That's Gustav Wisniewski. So Wisniewski for Technicar has unfortunately overshot as well as Enzo Tarvanichkel. I'm not sure if Tarvanichkel actually got out of the gravel. Incredibly, Tarvanichkel has done what Gustav Wisniewski, Andres Cardenas and Matus Reiber could not. He's managed to get out of the gravel. Keep an eye on the right side of your screen. Somehow Enzo Tarvanichkel has actually driven out of it. So he's carried on, albeit once at the back of the grid again. And there is poor Gustav Wisniewski joining the beached brigade. And now comes the long slump of disappointment, the walk back to the pits. So easy to go off at turn 1, so easy to get beached in that gravel trap. That's how it used to be, of course. In Formula 1, back in the 80s, if you went off the road, you were in the gravel. That was it. You were done. And with this being an old-school circuit, mistakes are punished quite brutally. This is the alternative, of course, to the massive runoff areas that we get in modern race circuits. Some of us old-school chaps quite like the gravel traps because it sorts out the wheat from the chaff. But this is an absolutely brilliant race that we've got coming up on the restart. If everybody can just keep their heads and stay on the road, then we've got a great charge to the finish now. Flusha, Kolnagi, Rivera, Ryszkowski and Quintarelli are still your top 5. But Nathan Tai has got himself into P6 at a critical moment in this race. Just before the safety car came out, he's been able to put himself into contention. Talk about well-timed. 7th place is the man he's overtaken. That is the cram of Adam Hideg. 8th place, everybody in Sri Lanka's going bananas right now because Yvan David is not just on course for a point, He's gone on course for quite a few at the moment in 8th position. Juan Cota is in 9th. And crucially, up in 10th position, Keanu Al-Azari has got ahead of Thomas Strauman. There he is in the orange MP Motorsport car. Now, that's critical, not just for getting into the points in this race, but also as far as the championship ramifications are concerned. You've got to keep scoring. You've got to keep putting yourself into that position. So there is the Cupra safety car leading the way. And they're going to go around for at least one more lap because there's still a little bit of recovery work to do at the first quarter. It's been quite a lot of work to recover a few of the cars at the first quarter. We've had what one particular viewer, Ryutenken1, is referring to as the Beached Boys. Matas Reiber on guitar, Andres Cadenas on drums, and Gustav Wisniewski on bass. They'll see the funny side of that later. But for now, certainly not exactly what they wanted to see at the end of this race. So it's going to be a tough restart for Flusha, but then he has already dealt with this once this weekend. First position. He's got to just try and keep hold of this now. This is when mistakes start to creep in. This is when the tension really starts to build in that cockpit. You're nervous, you're a little bit worried, you listen out for every single noise in that engine. What's that banging? What's that knocking? That doesn't rev quite the way it did before. Is my car in trouble? You start second guessing yourself, you start asking a million questions in the cockpit. You just want the checkered flag to come. But it's these moments when the pressure's high, where you've just got to measure it. You've just got to bring yourself back in, you've got to breathe, you've got to focus, you've got to get yourself back into a confident position. Just be disciplined, just be focused, just be patient. 6 minutes and 40, and safety car is in this lap. Great work again from the Hot Armour Marshals. Only 2 laps needed, really, behind the safety car on this occasion. So now we're going to see, can Lucas Flusha do this again and run from the front? Who can make progress and make some overtakes on the restart? We've seen a few drivers take advantage of that. Nathan Ty, Ivan David, Keanu Al-Azari, Maciej Gladish have all picked up the pieces of a restart in this race. In comes the Cupra safety car, and it's time for Lucas Flusha to charge for home. 6 minutes to go, plus the additional lap, and he's got another terrific restart. Rivera is once again on the Colnaghi bandwagon. A couple of drivers right off the final turn, and as they come down the main straight again, it's green, 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 green one more time here at Hodama. Rivera is in the slipstream of Colnaghi. Can he go wide and out? And the Santac of Quintarelli is trying to come forward. He's going to try and go right round the outside of Bashrovsky. Can he hold that? No, he has to back out of it. But here comes Nathan Ty, the British driver of the Campos, with a chance to back up the inside. He's there! Oh, brilliant from Nathan Ty. And now down on the inside. Problems! Skating off the road! It's not Flusha! Flusha's gone on! Gus Flusha! Buried in the ground! Looks like he'll not as well! I can't believe it! Lucas Flusha has gone clean off the road into the hairpin. Ah! It will be 3 different winners from 3 races. Red flags, red flags. Oh dear, what drama. And that means surely that Ernesto Rivera is going to be declared as the race winner. What an unbelievable turn of events. Oh my goodness. So, Lucas Flusha going clean off the road. Well, any number of things could have happened there. That could have been a suspension failure. That could have been a puncture. That could have been all sorts of issues. But Lucas Flusha has gone clean off the road. And while leading the race, I cannot tell you what emotions are going through his visor, his helmet right now. Session will not resume. And that means that Ernesto Rivera is going to be the race winner. What an unbelievable result. Jan Bashrovsky for Poland is going to be second. 2 Polish podiums in the case of just a few hours. And in third position, the British Campos racing driver, Nathan Ty. Well, absolutely unbelievable. Now, the question is going to be, Well, these guys are pulling up in the podium positions, but will they have to take it back a lap? There is a regulation that they can take it back a lap. If they take it back a lap, then obviously it's going to be Lucas Flusha who will be declared the winner. But Lucas Flusha is the cause of the red flag, so that might negate that result. Because what we have to remember is that if you're the cause of a red flag, you're out of it. So Flusha dropping out of the race, does that mean he doesn't get to win the race after all? Well, this is absolute and utter chaos and confusion. Because there is an argument to suggest that they need to take the results back a lap, but because Flusha went off, and that's the reason for the red flag, he won't be included in the results if they follow that regulation. So the results could be what we currently have now. Rivera, Pestrovsky, tie on the podium. We don't know. We're still waiting. What a crazy way to end this weekend. So at the moment, we are waiting for official confirmation as to who has won the third race of the weekend. We genuinely don't know. Well, I wish I could be more forthright. I wish I could tell you who is the race winner. Is it Lucas Flusha or is it Ernesto Rivera? We don't know. But it's certainly going to be one of the two of them. You've got to feel as well for Mattia Kolnagi in the middle of all of this, losing his front wing and plummeting all the way to 16th as he came into the pits. Well, none of the top three drivers here want to celebrate. Ernesto Rivera, the Mexican, has come into the pits. Have I won the race or not? I don't understand. Very, very strange scenes. The thing is, the leader was in the gravel trap when the red flag flew. So if you take it back a lap, Lucas Flusha isn't going to win the race anyway because he's the cause of the red flag. So if you then take it back a lap and remove Flusha, that means that Mattia Kolnagi could actually be the winner of this race because he was in second place at the beginning of the previous lap. So we've got a ridiculously bizarre situation here where we're waiting to decide, we're waiting for the decision as to who's going to win this race. It's either going to be Lucas Flusha because if they take it back a lap, concrete, he was the leader. If they remove him from the result because he caused the red flag and take it back a lap, then it's going to be Mattia Kolnagi that wins. If they leave the results as they are now, it's Ernesto Rivera that wins. Well, whatever happens, there's going to be quite a few happy people, particularly everybody in Sri Lanka. Yavan David has scored his first points finish in F4 racing, whatever happens. Well, crazy scenes here. There's three potential winners of the third Spanish F4 race of the weekend, and honestly, hand on heart, I couldn't tell you who's got it. And there's a very strong and solid argument for all three of them. We're still waiting for official confirmation. We're told that the session will not resume. According to the timing screen I've got in front of me, Ernesto Rivera is the leader and therefore potentially the race winner. But has he won the race? Your guess is as good as mine on this one. Well, nobody saw this one coming. You couldn't really have a more sensational battle here. And the first race weekend of the season ending in confusion. Now, Trader Pro Capital writes, if it's a red flag, the winner is Flusha. Last lap that counts in the regulation would be the previous lap. But what you have to take into account is that the person who's involved in the red flag is removed from the result, and that is Flusha. As we saw Mari Boyer there, congratulating one of the men in his stable. Have we got a Griffin Core 1-2? Is Ernesto Rivera the winner ahead of Jan Pestrovsky and Campos driver Nathan Ty? We just don't know at the moment. Confusion has completely taken over the paddock here. But we're waiting for official declaration as to the result. The thing is, there is an argument for all three drivers to have won this race. Lucas Flusha can claim he won the race because if you take it a lap back, he was the leader. Mattia Kolnagi can claim that he's the winner because if you take it a lap back, he was in second and Flusha went off the road causing the red flag. So Kolnagi could be declared the winner. But if it stays as it is now, they have taken it a lap back. Lucas Flusha is going to be the winner of this race. The timing screen has updated in front of me and it is showing Lucas Flusha after 12 laps. Wow. Again, I don't know if that's official, but certainly they have taken the timing screen a lap back. And if that stands, if what the timing screen says in front of me now is official, it isn't confirmed yet, but if it is, then Lucas Flusha, the man in the gravel trap, is going to be the race winner. Now, this is a tricky one. This is a really, really tricky situation. We don't know if it's confirmed yet, so do not hold that thought for the moment. Nathan Ty doesn't know what's going on, nor does Jan Petrovsky. Am I on the podium or not? Says Nathan Ty. Because if he's not on the podium, he's in sixth. Well, this is a very strange situation. We don't know who is the winner of race 3, although the timing screen in front of me has updated and taken it back a lap. Lorenzo Flusha doesn't know who's won the race. Has my little brother done it again? Well, we're waiting for official confirmation. We still don't have it, but they have taken it a lap back on my timing screen, and that shows Flusha in the lead of the race ahead of Mattia Kolnagi and Ernesto Rivera. But another situation in the regulations tells me that the driver who is off at the red flag is not classified in the results. And that, of course, would be Lucas Flusha. So it depends on what the governing body, what the officials decide to rule. They could well give Lucas Flusha the benefit of the doubt because something on the car has broken that's out of his control. Really, really tricky. It's tough to know. Everybody is confused here. Have KCLMP won this race or have Griffin Corby Campos? We just don't know. We'll wait for official confirmation. This is
Jake, are you listening to
me? The most insane end to a single-seater race that I have ever seen.
Okay. Perfecto.
Well, we're just waiting
Jake,
for another. Enzo
you?
Oliveira is down there. Enzo, what is the latest news you've got? What's the latest?
Yes, Flusha, Kolnagi, Rivera in this order, and Flusha is the winner because the situation, the red flag, take the 2 laps before the red flag. So we are listening just now the confirmation of the voice speaker here at the Madrid Jarama race circuit that Lucas Flusha is the winner because the red flag, the situation take the 2 laps before the red flag. So that's the resolution of the organization here. Flusha, Kolnagi and Rivera, my friend.
Okay, that makes sense now because, of course, they have that within their power, the regulations to take it back 2 laps. That's exacting a clause in the system, so absolutely, perfectly acceptable. They're allowed to do that. So, yeah, confirmation then that Lucas Flusha is our race 3 winner because by taking it back 2 laps, they have to reset the original position. What a crazy end to the race, Benzo. It must be so bizarre down there at the moment. Well, that's the update that we've got. But yeah, to officially confirm the result then, Race Control have taken the race order from 2 laps prior to the red flag, which is a perfectly legitimate regulation in Spanish motorsport, perfectly acceptable. And so as a result of that, they have taken the result 2 laps back. Enzo Oliveira is now going to find the man who has suddenly realised with his car on a low loader that he is a race winner. What a bizarre scenes here at Jarama.
Yeah. Everything is really confused, too much confused. But finally, the organization decided that 2 laps before the red flag was the last order of the starting grid. Now we are looking and watching on live the image with Lucas Flusha. Shortly, very shortly, you are very emotional now. Next time, no? Amazing, congratulations.
I mean,
Thank you. Hablo en
That's one of
español,
the-
English.
In English, congratulations.
Yeah, it was
English.
a good race. Managed to get a good launch at the start. Managed to lead the whole race until the last couple of safety cars made good restarts.
Yes.
And then we had a collision with my teammate. I was into the corner. He locked up and hit me. He flash spotted my left right tire, my rear right.
Yes.
And so I got to the next corner. I locked up, went into the wall. And yeah, I thought everything was finished, but yeah, I don't, yeah, win. So.
I'm watching you, and you are still, you know, little nervous after the situation. Was on the limit, no?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good restart. Everything was good, but the slipstream is such a long straight here. So I got into turn one. I was doing good. I had a nice gap, but he was defending from the drivers behind, and he locked up and went into my rear right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The words shortly, the flash interview with Lucas Fluchà, the winner to P1 in this weekend of Lucas Fluchà. So amazing weekend in this first round of the debut of F4 Spanish Championship in this year 2024, Jake.
I mean, that is the craziest end to a single-seater race I have ever seen. To have such confusion like that, we didn't know between one of three drivers that could have won that race. But yeah, the emotions are palpable, and there's going to be a lot of conversations after the race. There's going to be some people who will feel, well, a different regulation should have been exacted. Perhaps we need to look into this in a bit more detail. But certainly for the moment, Lucas Fluchà is declared the winner in front of Mattia Colnaghi and Ernesto de Vera. The big thing, of course, that comes out of this is that the reason that Lucas Fluchà was off the road and Mattia Colnaghi had a broken front wing was because the teammates collided whilst battling for the victory. So that's definitely going to be fascinating. Ernesto de Vera, third position. Jan Brashrovsky, P4. Matteo Quintarelli, fifth. Nathan Tai in sixth place from Adam Hideg. Yvan David scoring his first ever points in F4. Juan Cota in ninth place. And Chiano Alazzari keeping himself very much in the fight for the victory in 10th position. Thomas Straven, René Lammers, Maciej Gladish and Francisco Macedo. And then Lenny Reeds ahead of Daniel Nogales, Griffin Peebles and Lorenzo Castillo. Maxi Restrepo in front of Gabriel Gomez, and then Due de Decker from Christian Cantu, Kirill Kutskov, Rehan Hakim, Preston Lambert, Tim Gerhards, and then Victor Dobzhansky, Mikael Pedersen, and Filippo Fiorentino. The last driver home was Enzo Tarvanichkul, and then the retirements, Gustav Wisniewski, Andres Cardenas, James Agozzi, Peter Buzanelos, and Matas Reiber. The most bizarre end to a Formula 4 race I have ever seen. The race ends in confusion. The local Citroën Saxo Championship is coming out to finish the race weekend here. They're going to the grid as we are wrapping up with a podium ceremony, but there's going to be a lot of debate about this one. A lot of interesting conversations after the race, that is for sure. But, well, we finish off in very dramatic fashion, and I'm not entirely sure whether we're going to be sticking around for the podium ceremony or not. Certainly, we will continue to follow the story in the next few hours and the next couple of days on our social media channels. Make sure that you follow everything as it updates on our website, f4spain.org. And of course, if you're following us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, you'll get all the latest updates as they develop as well. And if you're watching on the live stream, hit the like button and notification bell. You'll never miss the moment. To the bottom of the podium then comes Lucas Fluchà for the second time this weekend. It's not the typical way to win, but win he has.
Ahí está, precioso, lindo español sonando.
A race that provides more questions than answers, but the first round of the championship is complete here in F4 Spain 2024. We certainly know we've got a decent championship battle on our hands between Lucas Fluchà, Chiano Alazzari and Thomas Straven. Plenty of other contenders could come forward and step up the game plan and the attack in the weeks to come as well. Thank you so much indeed for your company. The boys will get to celebrate in style on the podium from my colleague Enzo Oliveira and myself in the commentary box, Jake Stanson. We couldn't have asked for a crazier and more stupendous end to the first F4 Spanish Championship race weekend of 2024 on the Circuito de Madrid Jarama. And so now we have a double race win for Spain and the Belgian Thomas Straubben and Chiara Malazzari fighting fit and scoring points in all three races, with a lot of exciting contenders to put themselves into the mix. Will this result stand? Will there be more battles to come? That one's a guarantee. Make sure you tune in with us, subscribe and hit the notification bell, like the video, like the channel, and you'll never miss a moment of F4 Spain in 2024. There's a lot more questions to be answered than there were at the start of the weekend, that is for sure. And the racing has been very exciting indeed. I cannot wait for the second round of F4 Spain 2024, and I'm sure that neither can any of you as well. Stick around because next weekend we are at Euro Cup 3 order of business once again. It's going to be a great battle as the championship moves on to Austria in the Red Bull Ring for Euro Cup 3. But here on the podium, the boys in Spanish F4 get busy with the fizzy one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Mucho gracias. And we will see you for the next occurrence of the F4 Spanish Championship 2024. Next week, Euro Cup 3 heads to Red Bull Ring. Stick around with us and make sure you tune in for that. More great racing coming soon. Hasta la vista.